Sophia was an avid reader. She spent most of her free time lost in the pages of books, finding comfort and adventure in the stories they held. Her favorite place in the world was the old library on Maple Street. It was a quaint, charming place with creaky wooden floors and the smell of aged paper filling the air. She loved to wander through the aisles, running her fingers along the spines of books, searching for her next great read. One rainy afternoon, Sophia decided to escape the gloomy weather by visiting the library. She slipped inside, greeted by the familiar warmth and quiet. She wandered to the fiction section, her fingers trailing along the shelves. A particular book caught her eye, an old, worn-out copy of Pride and Prejudice. She pulled it from the shelf and smiled, remembering how much she loved the story of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. As she flipped through the pages, something fell out and landed softly on the floor. She bent down to pick it up and found an old, yellowed envelope. Curiosity piqued, she carefully opened it and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Unfolding it, she discovered it was a love letter, written in elegant, flowing script. "To my dearest Evelyn," it began. Sophia's heart skipped a beat as she read on. "My love for you grows with each passing day. The moments we spend together are the most precious of my life. I cherish every smile, every touch, every word spoken between us. I long for the day when we can be together without fear, without secrecy. Until then, know that my heart belongs to you and you alone. Yours always, Alexander." Sophia's mind raced with questions. Who were Evelyn and Alexander? Why was the letter hidden in this book? She felt a strange connection to the letter, as if it had been waiting for her to find it. Determined to uncover the story behind it, she decided to find out more. She took the letter to the librarian, Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman with a kind smile and a wealth of knowledge about the library's history. Mrs. Thompson examined the letter closely, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "I remember this," she said softly. "It was written by a young man named Alexander who used to visit the library often. He was in love with a girl named Evelyn, but their families didn't approve of their relationship. They had to keep their love a secret." Sophia listened intently as Mrs. Thompson continued. "Alexander would leave letters for Evelyn in this book because he knew she loved Pride and Prejudice. It was their secret way of communicating. But one day, Alexander stopped coming to the library. I never found out what happened to him." Sophia's heart ached for Alexander and Evelyn. She couldn't bear the thought of their love story ending in such sadness. She decided to find Evelyn and deliver the letter, hoping it might bring some closure or even rekindle a lost love. The next day, armed with the letter and a determination to uncover the truth, Sophia began her search. She started by looking through old records and directories, trying to find any information about Evelyn and Alexander. Days turned into weeks, and just when she was starting to lose hope, she found a clue. An old address for Evelyn, scribbled in the margin of a library record from years ago. With renewed energy, Sophia made her way to the address. It was a small, charming house on the outskirts of town. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding in her chest. An elderly woman answered, her eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of recognition as she saw the letter in Sophia's hand. "Are you Evelyn?" Sophia asked, her voice trembling slightly. The woman nodded, her eyes welling up with tears as she took the letter from Sophia's hand. She unfolded it carefully, her hands shaking as she read the familiar words. Tears streamed down her face, and she looked up at Sophia with a mixture of joy and sorrow. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought I had lost this letter forever." Evelyn invited Sophia inside, and over a cup of tea, she shared her story. She spoke of her love for Alexander, their secret meetings, and the letters they exchanged. She explained how their families had kept them apart, and how she had never seen Alexander again after he left for the war. Sophia listened with a heavy heart, but she also felt a sense of fulfillment. She had brought a piece of Alexander back to Evelyn, a reminder of their love that had endured despite the years and the distance. As she left Evelyn's house, Sophia couldn't help but think about the power of love and the impact of a simple letter. She had started her journey with a sense of curiosity, but it had ended with a deeper understanding of the enduring nature of love. And as she walked home, she felt a sense of peace, knowing that she had played a small part in reuniting two souls who had been separated by time and fate. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia continued to visit the library, her love for books and stories only growing stronger. She often thought of Evelyn and Alexander, wondering how their story might have ended differently in another time or place. One sunny afternoon, as Sophia was browsing through the shelves, she noticed a young man standing in the same aisle where she had found the letter. He was tall and handsome, with a kind smile that made her heart skip a beat. He was holding a copy of Pride and Prejudice, flipping through the pages with a thoughtful expression. Sophia felt a strange sense of déjà vu as she approached him. "That's a wonderful book," she said, trying to start a conversation. The young man looked up and smiled. "It is," he replied. "It's one of my favorites. I'm actually here looking for another book by the same author." They chatted for a while, discovering their shared love for literature and history. His name was James, and he had recently moved to town to take a job at the local historical society. Sophia found herself drawn to his warmth and intelligence, and as they talked, she felt a connection forming between them. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and James spent more and more time together. They explored the library, went on long walks in the park, and shared countless conversations over coffee. Sophia told him about the letters she had found and her journey to find Evelyn. James listened with fascination, touched by the story and Sophia's dedication. One evening, as they were walking by the river, James took Sophia's hand and looked into her eyes. "Sophia, I feel like I've known you forever," he said softly. "There's something special about you, something that draws me in." Sophia's heart raced as she looked back at him. "I feel the same way, James," she replied. "It's as if fate brought us together." They stood there for a moment, gazing at each other, and then James leaned in and kissed her gently. It was a kiss filled with promise and hope, a beginning of something beautiful. As their relationship blossomed, Sophia couldn't help but think of Alexander and Evelyn. She felt as though their love story had somehow paved the way for her own. She often visited Evelyn, sharing stories of her time with James and listening to more tales of Evelyn's past. One day, Evelyn gave Sophia a small, wrapped package. "I want you to have this," she said with a smile. "It's something very dear to me, and I believe it will bring you happiness." Sophia opened the package to find a beautiful, antique locket. Inside was a tiny photograph of Alexander and Evelyn, smiling and happy. "Thank you," she said, tears in her eyes. "I will cherish this always." As the years went by, Sophia and James built a life together filled with love, laughter, and shared adventures. They often thought of the love letter that had brought them together, a reminder of the power of love and the way it could transcend time and distance. Sophia continued to visit the library, now with James by her side. They often found themselves in the fiction section, reminiscing about the day they met and the journey that had led them to each other. One rainy afternoon, much like the day she had found the letter, Sophia and James were sitting in their favorite reading nook. Sophia was lost in a book when she felt James' hand on hers. She looked up to see him holding a small, velvet box. "Sophia," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "From the moment I met you, I knew you were the one for me. You've brought so much joy and love into my life. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Sophia's eyes as she nodded, unable to speak. James slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, their hearts full of love and happiness. As they sat together, looking out at the rain, Sophia thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had all started with a simple love letter, hidden in the pages of a book. A letter that had transcended time and brought two people together, proving that love, in all its forms, was truly timeless. Years later, Sophia and James were sitting in their cozy living room, surrounded by books and memories. Their children played nearby, and the house was filled with laughter and love. On the mantelpiece, in a place of honor, sat the old locket that Evelyn had given to Sophia. Sophia often thought about how a simple act of curiosity had led her to a love that would last a lifetime. She felt grateful for the journey, for the love letter, and for the people who had been a part of her story. And so, the love letter that had once been hidden in a book continued to touch lives, a testament to the enduring power of love. It reminded Sophia and James of the beauty of their own story, and it inspired them to cherish each moment, knowing that love, in all its forms, was a gift to be treasured. As they sat together, holding hands and watching their children play, Sophia knew that their love story, like the letter, would be passed down through the generations, reminder that love always finds a way.